Hi guys, my name is Antos, and today I'm going to do a video all about Steadicams. First I'm going to review a bunch of Steadicams that I have up here. These are all entry-level Steadicams for indie filmmakers that cost you, under $1,000. And sort of, I'll test them all out. We'll see how each one functions, which one's better maybe in performance, and also what's the best, kind of a deal for the money. And then afterwards I'm going to basically show you guys how Steadicams work and how you can balance and learn to use your Steadicam in a proper way, regardless of which model or which type of Steadicam you have. First are these sort of lighter Steadicams that are suitable for smaller cameras like the, let's say, GoPro or Sony NEX cameras, and you might be able to, for example, use it also with like the smaller, let's say, Canon DSLRs like the Canon T2i. If you don't put too big of a lens on it. So there's two of these. First one is the Hague Mini Motion cam stabilizer. This one will cost you around $90. New, used you can probably find it cheaper. And it's pretty simple. Put the camera on top here. You adjust your weights on the bottom here. You can move the camera back and forth. And anyways, here's the kind of shots that I was able to get with this one. And now for all these tests, I'm going to be using my cousin Octavia, and I'm just going to have her sort of repeat the same action, and in each test. And I'm going to get 3 different kind of shots. First one is just me sort of walking with her, sort of tracking along the side, and then when she comes to stop, I'll go around her and then sort of stop, framing on her face. The next test is going to be a test sort of walking backwards, starting at her feet and then slowly going up to her face. And then the last test is going to be me sort of running, full speed or as fast as I can run with the Steadicam, sort of, running right at her, and then again trying to aim with a decent sort of a medium shot of her face. So as you can see, you can get pretty smooth shots with this. The Steadicam is pretty easy to balance too, and also I was able to get decent shots with this in 1 or 2 takes maximum. So it's fairly easy to use. And now all of these are obviously just the best shots and moments from the Steadicam test. So if you want to see the full raw takes, go to tomantosfilms.com, and there you'll also be able to see other sort of in-depth information about each Steadicam. And now the next one is the Lenzi Mid-X stabilizer. This one is in a way very similar to the Hague one. As you can see, it has the same kind of pattern. Again, you put your weights on the bottom. It comes with little extension arms so you can for bigger cameras, and also so you can offset the weights. And otherwise, it's very similar. You put the camera on top, you can move it back and forth. Anyways, here's the kind of shots I was able to get with this. So as you can see, even though it works, in a very similar fashion as the Hague Steadicam, it's all right, but it's pretty stable when it comes to when you're stabilizing the sort of left and right kind of motions. But the problem is with the up and down jerkiness. Basically, when if I was running a little bit too fast or making really sort of quick movements, then that jerkiness was really obvious in the shots. If you're doing kind of more just simple sort of walking shots, then it's then it does a pretty good job. And also it's pretty easy to control. So again, I was able to get the sort of decent looking shots in 1 or 2 takes maximum. Okay, so now the next 2 Steadicams I'm going to test out are these sort of, Steadicams meant for mid-sized cameras. So, they'll work for cameras like let's say the Canon, T2i, 7D, 5D, or, let's say Panasonic GH, 2 or 3. Again, you can use slightly heavier cameras on it, but when it comes to using these tiny cameras, like let's say the GoPro on it, I just wouldn't recommend it because it's basically going to be way too much weight on the bottom for you for that kind of a camera. And now the first one I'm going to review is this. This one's a Flycam, and it's pretty much an identical copy. It's kind of a you could say a cheaper sort of a copycat of the GlideCam 2000. That's very popular out there. It's similar because it works in the exact same fashion. Even the dimensions are almost identical, and the mounting plate and everything on it. Anyway, so here's the kind of shots that I was able to get with this one. As you can see, I was able to get really nice smooth shots. The Steadicam is pretty easy to balance, doesn't take too long. Now it does take long to mount the camera. That is, if you're not using a quick release plate, which I would suggest that you get if you're going to be using, the fly cam or the glide cam.
That's my next purchase, a Steadicam.
It wasn't too hard.
Thank you for the advice, Don Antos. I'm going to get a Steadicam next.
Framing that I wanted, so I was able to get usually my shots in 1 or 2 takes. And now again, this was shot with the fly cam, which is, like I said before, sort of a cheap copy made in India, I believe, by this Indian company. Pretty much, they just copied, the design of the glide cam. And really, if you've used the glide cam and then, for example, you try this or vice versa, you'll see there's really not much of a difference. The gimbal is nice and smooth, you can see, in all axes. The weight system is just slightly different the way you mount the weights up here, but again, it has the same kind of dimensions, and even here the sort of the cheese plate here for mounting your camera is identical. Now, the one thing that I don't like about the Steadicam and about the Glide Cam 2000 is the fact that in order to mount the camera, you have to take off this whole cheese plate, and that requires you to remove all these 4 screws. Probably best way to get around that is just mounting a quick release plate on the top and just leaving that on there, and then this way you can easily take the camera on and off. So, if you're going to get this type of a Steadicam or the Glide Cam, or even this one up here that I'm going to review next, then I would recommend again getting that quick release plate. Now, what is different between this and the Glide Cam is just little things. The Glide Cam has slightly better, just looking knobs, things like that. Functionally, there's really not much of a difference. Now, this one will cost you around $170, $180 new.
Sounds a good price.
Buy it for even cheaper. The Glide Cam will cost you around $500. So that's sort of, where the big difference also is. Anyways, now I'm going to review this Steadicam here. It's the 7.
He gives very good advice, Tom Antos. Very good advice on filmmaking.
$250. It's again, as you'll see,
what I like about him, he gives you the cheaper option. He's a real filmmaker. He goes for value for money and making a film. That's what I like about listening to him.
But again, it has a telescoping arm up here, just like the Glide Cam and the Fly Cam, so you can adjust the length of it and all that stuff. But it does fold into a smaller size than the other ones. Anyways, so here's the kind of shots I was able to get with this one. As you can see, it produces nice, smooth shots. It's pretty easy to balance. It doesn't take too long. Now, mounting the camera can take a little bit of time, without the quick release plate. Just like
quick release plate is a must.
The Glide Cam.
Quick release plate.
Now, I was able actually to get pretty good framing.
Quick release plate.
Usually again in 1 or 2 takes, so it's pretty easy to control. The Steadicam doesn't float around too much. So, anyways, as you can see, it's a pretty nice Steadicam. I guess what I would say what I like about this one better than the Fly Cam is the fact that these weights are just a little bit easier to change out. All you have to do is just take out these little sort of knobs, and you can put in different plates, or just you can even just buy regular washers at your hardware store, and you can really sort of fine tune the weight of this. Whereas with this one, it's just a little bit harder to get into because of these sort of compartments that you have to open up. That's really the only difference. But again, it's it won't take you that much longer. Now the last Steadicam that I'm going to test out is the Steadicam Merlin. This is actually designed by Garrett Brown, which is the original.
I don't like the Steadicam Merlin. I'm not a lover of the Steadicam Merlin.
Well, this one costs you around $600, and it's supposedly it's meant for both these kind of very small cameras, like the GoPro even, or the Sony NEX type cameras, and it's supposed to support even bigger cameras like the 5D, for example, with a heavier kind of a wide-angle lens if you put it on there. Now, just by looking at this, I can tell you right away, it's just very nicely manufactured. All the parts, all the screws look very nice, very clean cut, and it's very light, and also the gimbal is super smooth, like feels, probably the smoothest out of all these Steadicams that I tested. So anyways, here's the kind of shots I was able to get with this. Now, as you can see, this Steadicam produces, pretty smooth shots, but it has a sort of a tendency to lean a bit too much, especially if you really change the direction or speed a lot. And now because the gimbal is so smooth, and the camera sort of tends to sort of float around very easily, or if the wind sort of blows on it, again it moves on its own. It actually took me around 4 to 5 takes to get a decent sort of framing that I was happy with. Also, it takes a pretty damn long time to balance it, and you basically need constant adjustments.
That doesn't sound good.
Now, because the gimbal up here is so smooth, the Steadicam has a tendency to sort of float around a little bit from left to right or up and down, and to the point that even if a little bit of wind would blow on this, it would cause the whole Steadicam to move a little bit to the right, let's say, or to the left, and that can be a big problem if you're trying to just, for example, run with this or walk with it, and you want this to, the Steadicam to sort of stay pointing in one direction. So in a way, having a super smooth gimbal like this might not be that that good. Also, another thing is because it's so light, again, it doesn't have enough weight, and because of that, it doesn't have enough inertia of its own. So it very easily gets affected by, again, wind or any sort of rapid, quick movements. So that's what I found the problem was. Also, then one thing that I didn't like is that it comes with a quick release plate, which in theory should be good because it's very easy to just put it on, and then take it off and, let's say, attach a different camera to it. Now the problem is, I don't know, might just be with this particular unit, is that that base plate did not lock all the way in. It had a little bit of play. So basically what that meant is, like, for example, when I was running with the Steadicam and I would go really fast forward, then basically would have a tendency sometimes for the plate to move a little bit back and forth. And then what that means is that, pretty much after every take, I would have to readjust slightly, the balance of it, because either the camera would be pointing slightly too much to down or up, which was again a really annoying thing, and it just slows you down in your work. So overall, despite its price and despite the fact that it's designed by the original inventor of the Steadicam, I would not recommend this one. It's just for me, it's way overpriced, and again, it's sort of a hassle, trying to get this, exact framing in your shots. Okay, so, who's the winner here? Well, I don't know if there's one particular winner, but, well, first let's look at this class of these smaller Steadicams. Out of these ones, the ones meant for like the GoPro or Sony NEX type cameras, I think this one, the Hague, by far is just a lot better in terms of performance, and also the kind of deal that you're getting. Again, this one will cost you around $90, maybe $95. This one will cost you $85. If you're looking out there for Steadicam for something like I said, smaller, like a GoPro camera, or maybe maybe even your iPhone or Sony NEX type cameras, then this is probably the best deal for you. Because it's again price, $90, $95. The size of it, it's very small, especially if you fold this handle inside, and it's very light, so you can easily take it with you in your backpack or your carry-on luggage, for example, if you're traveling. Also, it's fairly easy to adjust, simply because these type of Steadicams don't have too many moving parts. And the last thing that I really like about this is the fact that, because they're so small, so light, and because the gimbal here is right above the handle, you can basically just put your finger up here, and just by applying a little bit of pressure, you can control sort of the direction of where the Steadicam is pointing, up and down, left and right, and you don't need two hands to operate this, as opposed to, for example, with these bigger ones. And now, when it comes to these Steadicams for these slightly bigger cameras, these two performed equally as good, so really it just comes down to value. I think when it comes to, I guess, just the cost, and the kind of performance output you're getting, I would say the Flycam is just the best deal, because it's the cheapest of
so it's the Flycam for
all
me.
of these.
The Flycam.
That doesn't mean that this one is doesn't perform as well. It does, and it's maybe some people might be willing to spend extra $50 or whatever it is, the price difference, on this one, simply because it's, again, it can fold it to a slightly smaller size, when compared to this. If you were to fold the bottom up here, you're probably saving yourself maybe around 10 inches, lengthwise.
10 inches in space.
So, again, might be a deciding factor for some of you, especially if you travel a lot, and you want to take this, let's say, in your carry-on luggage or that kind of stuff. But when it comes to performance, both of them perform very well. Again, if you have extra money to burn, and let's say you can afford to spend $500, then maybe the Glide Cam 2000 might be a great deal for you, because again, it performs just as well as this, but it just, looks a little bit nicer, has slightly easier way to adjust the weights, that kind of thing. So it will save you a few little extra minutes here and there. But performance-wise, again, I would recommend both of these. So it's sort of, it comes down to you.
So it's between the Glide Cam and Fly Cam.
When it comes to
Glide
the
Cam
Steadicam
value for
Merlin,
money.
that one, personally, I can't recommend.
The Glide Cam easy to adjust the weights.
It's just, like I said,
the
those
Glide
few
Cam,
little things.
The Glide Cam folds smaller.
Get smooth shots with it. It's just that much harder.
I'm sorry, it's going to be the Glide Cam for me.
Thank you guys for watching, and if you want more information,
thank you, Tom Antos. It's going to be the Glide Cam for me.
I'll show you
for the reason of it folds smaller when travelling, and the weights are easier to adjust.
Separate videos which you can find on my website, tomantosfilms.com. Also there I'll have links for where you can find these Steadicams, sort of the best deals, where you can buy them, and any other sort of little tips and tricks on using Steadicams. So again, check out my website, tomantosfilms.com, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.
Tony Louis 100 Film School. Thank you, Tom Antos, for the advice. It's a very good video. Thank you for sharing it with me.